Welcome to the Black in Motion podcast, powered by Rise Free Media, with your host, Braxton Simpson. Hi, everyone. I'm Braxton Simpson, your host of the Black in Motion podcast, and we are here for episode 3 of season 1, and I'm so excited that y'all been rocking with us. This is going to be an amazing episode today. We have an amazing individual, Miss Bree. We call her Busy Bree, and we're so excited to have her. She is an icon, okay? And if you're here in the Raleigh-Durham area, you've heard of Miss Bree, okay? You've heard of her. You know, we've been to the events. We are getting into all the creativity. She's an entrepreneur. She's a creator. But I'll actually let her tell us a little bit more about herself.
Hey, y'all. I am Bree, also known as the Busy Bree, of course. I am a content creator, an event curator, a community connector, a social media manager, all of the things, honey. I am balancing a lot. I think something that people don't know about me is that my background is in social work too. Wow. So community is truly at the heart of everything that I do. And so I'm excited to be in community with you, Braxton, and to have this beautiful conversation today.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So just for a little context, how me and Bree met, she's just been somebody I've been following for such a long time. You've been doing such amazing things.
Thank you.
And it's been a pleasure to just be a part of your community and for you to pour into me and for us to just be doing some great things together. So I know you talked a little bit about social work. I kind of want to dive into that a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah. So how did you make that transition? Because you are a full-time entrepreneur, obviously young. So how was that leap of faith, kind of taking that leap of faith, kind of jumping from social work into entrepreneurship, and then kind of how does that inform what you're doing today?
Yeah, so again, I have my master's in social work from NC State. I also have my BSW. So truly my background is in social work. And I was just fine with doing that full time. I thought that was what was going to pay off these student loans. As for now, thank you, Lord.
Right.
Jesus paid it all. Happy Easter.
Yes.
But I essentially got pushed out of my social work job. And it was incredibly disheartening because it was by a Black woman. And so in that, I know now, hindsight is 2020, right? That it was all intentional. It was all God's plan. Yeah. But in the moment, it didn't feel that way. So after quitting my full-time job in social work, I was applying to jobs. Nothing was really working out. In May of that year, so I quit in June of 2021. And in May of that year, somebody randomly reached out to me and was like, hey, do you manage social media?
Wow.
And I was so close to saying no. And my roommate, one of my closest, dearest friends, Chelsea, was like, you're not going to tell her that.
Right.
She was like, go ahead and we'll figure it out. That woman paid me $1,000 a month.
Yes.
Not knowing what I could do, what I was capable of. And I now know that God was setting it up. He is just the greatest orchestrator ever. And so June of 2021, I quit my job and was applying. Nothing was working out. In August of 2021, for my birthday that year, one of my closest friends, I just love him so much, John, he purchased my LLC.
Wow.
And
that's so sweet.
He said, we're just going to do it. And so here we are.
That is so sweet. And it makes me think of the power of community.
Absolutely.
Because when we kind of step into these spaces, it's not really just our dream, right? It's like our dream being manifested to help somebody else, but then also our community around us that's pouring into us, that's investing in us, that kind of sees the full vision, or even if they don't see it, just supporting us along the way. So I think that's awesome. And then also it makes me think, you know, I'm also in entrepreneurship, an entrepreneur, and I think about worth, like the worth that we've seen in ourselves. So like you wouldn't have known to charge $1,000 or anything unless somebody, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's an important thing. And with every opportunity, you learn a little bit more about how much am I really worth? And I'm worth more than probably what I even would have put out there, you know? So I think that's a lesson to ourselves also, to just go for it. Your price is your price.
Your price is your price.
And stand on it and add tax.
Yes, okay.
Yes. So we'll kind of get into rebuilding, right? Rebuilding and thriving. Obviously, we're post-2024 election. We're kind of getting
tomato,
on that. Tomato, boo, tomato. And we are post-pandemic too. We've kind of getting on the other side of that. So wanted to hear from you. how can Black entrepreneurs and content creators use their platforms to drive political awareness and civic engagement amongst millennials and Gen Z? And maybe you can even talk about that from the standpoint of your content.
Sure. So I think the main thing for me in approaching politics as a content creator, engaging civically, is to do it in a way that makes sense for you. Mm-hmm. If that does not look like you posting content where you're talking about something you have no idea about, but rather it looks like posting on your stories like, hey, I'm actually kind of confused about this policy change, or I'm not really sure what's going on. Here's a question box. Can somebody break it down? Explain it to me like I'm 5, Mm-hmm. I think you just have to find ways that make sense for you, your audience, and you do so in a way that's not like, oh, I know what I'm talking about, if you don't, because that's dangerous. There's way too many people. Exactly. There's way too many people getting online and talking about things they literally have no idea about. Mm-hmm. And now the masses are confused, or they're spewing out information that's untrue. So that would be my main thing. Do it in a way that makes sense. And if that way is asking questions rather than giving information, then do that. Somebody that I think does a really, really good job of communicating the information in a way that makes sense for him and that feels like him is Richie Fontaine. Okay, yeah. He does, and he makes it funny, but also at the same time, we're learning something. Exactly. Right. And so that is a great example of using what's going on in the world and who you are naturally and infusing the two so that it makes sense to your audience and so that they can understand it in a way that is not, it's just not hard to understand.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's important because, kind of being in this organizing work, I think what we hear a lot from students, what we hear from young people in general is just, they don't understand the policies. Yeah. They don't understand the policies. And we're not always doing the best job at making sure that they understand it. Mm-hmm. And so that's where I think content creators come into play. But then also there's that great responsibility to provide accurate information in a time where we're experiencing so much misinformation, and that misinformation is damaging. Yeah, it can be damaging. So moving on to adulting. Mm-hmm. Whew.
Ghetto.
Ghetto out here. So moving on to adulting, just kind of navigating career, like finances, mental health. So as someone that is balancing entrepreneurship, event curation, content creation, how do you manage financial independence while also protecting your mental health? And especially for all those that are listening that are looking to dive into entrepreneurship, but are scared to take that leap because of the economy, the way things are. Like, how does that work for you?
So, Braxton, if I'm being honest, the whole managing finances as an entrepreneur is still something that I'm learning, and I am 4 years in. And the thing about it is I talk to my waxer, shout out to Jade, about this all the time. You, as an entrepreneur, you could have $40,000 in your bank account one day and then $1,000 the next. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's for me at least, yes, we should manage our finances well. Hire people to do the things that you're not good at. I'm not good at balancing the books. So I'm going to pay to make sure that my books are where they need to be so that I don't go to jail. Okay. But the thing about it for me, it's less about managing finances, and it's more about finding the faith to believe that the provision is going to come. And that it's taken a while for me to really learn that and hone in on that. I sometimes may not even have finances to manage, but if I have the faith to believe that the finances are coming, then when they come, I can position myself to steward those finances well. So I think as an entrepreneur, if you are looking to go into entrepreneurship, it is something that you're going to have to do scared.
Yep. You gotta do it scared.
You can be brave and scared at the same time. Mm-hmm. Like, I am going to take this risk because I trust that God is going to provide. And also I'm doing it scared, but I'm doing it. Mm-hmm. And so that would definitely be what I would say to future entrepreneurs. You're going to have a level of faith that you can't even fathom having right now. Mm-hmm. Faith enough to believe that God's going to provide so that you can manage your finances.
Yes. They always say if you have faith, as small as a mustard seed.
Yeah. And I think as an entrepreneur though, like, I've learned that the mustard seed is just the start. Mm-hmm. Like I think I heard someone say this the other day. I wish I could remember the sermon, but at some point our mustard seed faith has to grow. Like seeds are intended to grow something.
Right.
So at some point I do believe that the mustard seed faith, like it kind of has to be crazy faith. Like Mike Todd used to talk about all the time. At some
crazy
point
faith.
It has to shift from mustard seed to something that's a little bit bigger than that. Right.
Get our plants going.
Yeah. But to start, the mustard seed is literally all that the Bible requires of us. So yeah.
I love that. And from a mental health perspective, like, could you talk a little bit about that?
So in full transparency, which I talk about this all the time. So, baby, vulnerability is my middle name, but I'm an anxious girly. And I also think that entrepreneurship has revealed to me that I may also deal with ADHD. As an entrepreneur, you can have systems in place. And also the structure is just not the same as it was when you had a W-2 job.
Right.
And so having to adjust to that has been a challenge.
You create your own structure,
and
right?
Creating your own structure. And here lately, coming from a season where I was working in survival mode into a season where things are overflowing and the clients are just coming, and which I'm so I'm so grateful for that. But coming out of a season of survival mode, you have to adjust the way that you work. And so I've been overwhelmed. I've been anxious here a bit lately. And in order to manage that, I have to do what works for me. So that's creating big to-do lists, and each day grabbing 3 to 5 tasks that I can do, and no longer working out of a place where I feel like I have to get it all done because I'm scared that if I don't, then the money's not going to come.
Right.
And I'm so grateful that I don't have to work out of that place right now. But the truth of the matter is I could be back there tomorrow.
Right.
But I still want
the ebbs and flows of entrepreneurship.
I still want to keep those coping mechanisms and things for myself. So continuing to make to-do lists and not letting everything live in my head so that I'm constantly overwhelmed with what has to be done. Because there's always something that has to be done, but it doesn't have to be done in this moment.
Right. And that's something I would say that I'm learning right now too in this season is I've traditionally been someone who kind of like takes control of everything in my life and feel like I have to do everything. Even like we were just doing our TikTok before this, and Bree was like, let somebody else push play.
She
like,
over there trying to be in the TikTok, trying to start the TikTok. And we got 2 other bodies in here.
Right. And that's something I'm learning. And that's something I'm actively working on. Is like, you cannot do everything. And if you try to do everything, you won't be great at anything.
Absolutely.
Right. And so,
and that's coming for, I didn't mean to cut you off, but 2 people who do a lot of things well, that is something that you have to learn. Like at some point you do have to ask for help and delegate so that you can operate in your zone of genius.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And be the best that you can be.
Absolutely.
Yes. I love that. So with that, what has been your biggest lesson about balancing the hustle with self-care, and how do you make time for rest and joy?
One thing about it, baby, I'm gonna go to bed.
No, that's right.
When I first started, though, I remember vividly being up till before I had a team, before there were people I could delegate to. I remember being up till 2:00 in the morning one night, and I had 8 clients whose work I was doing by myself. And I remember saying, God, there is no way that you called me out of a W-2 job that had a cutoff at 5:00, sometimes earlier than that, to come to this.
And be working 24 hours a day.
Which, now let's be honest, as an entrepreneur, you're still going to be working 24 hours a day, but that looks different. Like, I don't have to be up till 2:00 in the morning doing the work. And so for me, that balance looks like, okay, you're going to have to, I do work sprints. So I'll set an alarm for an hour, and I'll intentionally, as a social media manager and content creator, most things are on my phone, but those work sprints, I'll intentionally make it so that it's work that doesn't require me to be on my phone.
Right.
So I can turn on a podcast, or Moonchild is my work vibe of choice. Turn that on and just zone in. And so I do that. And I say, okay, we're going to work until this time. After that time, whatever's not done, we'll move till tomorrow, unless I want to work extra. And then let's make time for the rest. Because y'all know I be outside. I be with the community. I be out. Okay.
You be out there. Yeah.
So I want to make time for that. That refuels me and gives me joy. And sometimes that looks like me just laying in my bed, binge watching something or reading a book. I love a good rom-com.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I think that being up till 2:00 in the morning, one night shifted everything for me. Yeah. And so now I have a bedtime routine 10:30 is when I need to be in the bed and sleep. 5:30 in the morning is when I wake
work
up.
24 hours.
I can't. I absolutely
and
cannot.
I have
I don't
that
want
work-life
to.
balance still because so much of entrepreneurship is engraved in like your actual life and who you are versus like and it can be that way in a corporate job, right? But specifically when you're starting something for yourself, it feels like so much of you, right? So having to create those boundaries for yourself too. And one other question I had was more so like around imposter syndrome. Have you ever experienced that, especially being so young, now having a team of people that, you know, their livelihoods can depend on you as well, and the success of your business. So how do you deal with that?
Definitely have experienced imposter syndrome often, especially in the world of social media, right? This is what I've learned about that though. Everybody's posting their highlight reels. There are very few people who are honest enough to say, no, this is the struggle that got me to this highlight reel. Right. I'm grateful to follow those people. And also sometimes I get caught up in seeing the success and I don't even pay attention to the backstory.
Right.
So something that I'm trying to do to help navigate that imposter syndrome is being intentional about who I follow and hearing the entire story and not just taking the highlight part of it. Right. And so that's part of what I do. And then another thing internally that I do when I'm experiencing imposter syndrome or when something comes up to where I may not be able to pay the team on the day that it's supposed to happen. Again, this is me being super vulnerable and transparent. I literally just check in with them, say, hey, y'all, this month we're going to have to adjust. And I'm so grateful for the people who I get to serve clients with because they're like, girl, it happens. Like, we understand. We know that you're good for it. And that also speaks to a person's character.
Yes.
If people can say, hey, I totally understand. Of course, people want to be paid on the day that their schedule and calendar says they're going to get paid.
Right.
But if they can trust that you're going to pay them when you have it, that kind of helps ease the imposter syndrome for me. Because
like, I can do this. Exactly. I can do this.
Because if I tell you that and your response is, girl, it's fine. We know that you're going to pay us. That lets me know that I'm in flow. That lets me know that I'm where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
And that honesty shifted something in me and the people that I get to do work with.
And grew you as a leader too.
Absolutely.
I love that. So we're going to make a shift to community and culture.
Okay.
And this is about preserving and evolving Black identity. So how do you see Black culture evolving in the face of challenges like cultural appropriation, gentrification, systemic barriers, especially in your field of work?
How do I see it shifting? Honestly, I don't necessarily know that I see it shifting. I think in a lifetime of Black folks, we have literally just shown up as ourselves.
Yep.
And people, whether they want to admit it or not, because sometimes the folks that don't look like us are hesitant to say this, but whether they admit it or not, we are the culture.
Yep.
So if we shift, the culture is going to shift
we
too.
Set the pace.
Right? Exactly. Everything that we do is going to shift what happens. So I think for us, it's more of what happens when we evolve. And that is literally what shifts the culture. I think our evolution is literally us just being ourselves and growing at the pace that God sets for all of us. We show up the way that He wants us to. We create the things He wants us to. We build the things He wants us to. And other people are beneficiaries of that, whether they want to admit it or not. And so I don't necessarily see the culture shifting. I just see Black folks evolving in a way that is going to continue to change the world and make it better.
I love that. And we've always done that.
We've always been the
trendsetters.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love that take. And so what steps do you think that we can take as a community to protect and uplift spaces and businesses, specifically Black businesses and everything that we're seeing in the world right now, with it rapidly changing?
I think we have to get back into community. I think we have spent years, decades even, with this crab in the barrel mentality.
Ooh, let's talk about it, girl.
We have spent so much time giving money to the white versions of the Black businesses that we could be putting our money into and recycling the Black dollar in. Right. I think we've spent so much time doing that now it's a unique opportunity, and it's time for us to really come back together and create community again.
For us, by us.
Yes. Truly. And I think it's like there's room for allies to come into the space too, right? Genuine allies.
Right.
But I don't want allies coming into a broken space.
Right.
I don't want allies coming in telling us, oh, you guys need to come together. I don't want that. We should already be together when they come and assist. Right. Like they are literally just there to assist. We are the coaches. We are the players. We are the ones doing or who should be doing what needs to be done.
Right.
It starts with us. So my answer to that is definitely, I think we have to get back into the flow of community so that we can put our money where it needs to be, so that we can rebuild, so that we can connect again. That is what it's going to take in order for the world to continue to see like nothing moves without us.
Yes. And I love that, what you talked about, especially because this is helping me to understand so much more about you. You know, you create so many spaces for community. So how much of that, what you just kind of said, do you take into your event curation and just all the things that you're hosting, the spaces that you're creating for creatives and entrepreneurs to come together? How much of kind of what you just mentioned is kind of at the root of that?
All of it, honestly. At the center of everything that I do is community. Like I was just talking to a potential sponsor for the Busy Creative Summit yesterday.
Yes.
And something that I always tell my clients, the cute videos, the cute content is great. Like I'm going to do everything I can to make sure it's aesthetically pleasing.
Right.
But before we focus on the aesthetics, we have to build community around your brand. We have to make sure that people trust you and your brand. And so when curating events, that is what I want. I want people to come into a space that feels like it's safe enough to be home. I want people to leave better than the way that they came. I want people to not be afraid to come by themselves because they know that they're going to leave with more connections than they came in with.
I love that.
And so again, I center community at everything that I do. I want to ask questions. Like I'm not an introverted person. So in putting on events, you do have to consider the likeness of introverts.
Right.
So I remember when I was planning the first mixer, somebody DM'd me and was like, is this going to be a safe place for introverts? And I'm freaking out because I'm like, well, what do introverts need? Like all of my introvert friends are extroverts with me.
Yeah.
So I'm like
introverted extroverts.
Yeah. So I'm like, so I did the research to figure out like, how can I bring them into a space where they feel safe enough to connect. And so that led to me having connection questions so people don't have to do the heavy lifting of figuring out what to talk about with people. Like literally in every section of House of Art where we were having the mixers, there was a question where you could just turn to your neighbor and ask that question. And so things like that, things like making sure that certain parts of the event are positioned well. Yes. And then being someone who's just willing to connect and build community. So I may come in, see two people who aren't really talking at the moment and say, hey, you do this. I think y'all would be great to connect, and then walking away. So yeah, community is genuinely at the center of everything that I do. And I want to keep it that way.
I love that. And I love the space that you and Chelsea also created
my girl.
For the girls.
Yes.
Yes. I absolutely loved coming to that event. And I felt that energy, right? Because I think in every space, there's always going to be extroverts, introverts, but it felt very communal.
Yeah.
Yes. And I came not knowing anybody either, so I was able to leave. That's even how I met our photographer for the day. Yes. So community. Yeah. Community. I love it. And I love what you're creating.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to maybe talk about some of the spaces that you have for community?
Yes. Okay. So we'll start with the community that I have in connection and collaboration with my girl, Chelsea. That is for the girls. Okay.
Yes.
At It's For the Girls, GWORLS.
Girls.
Okay. We have that where we bring women in the triangle or in the general area together to just connect, to celebrate each other, to build with each other. We just recently had a mixology class in partnership with Get Mixed with Jamie, and that was absolutely amazing. Literally just making sure that the girls are having a good time, are taking time to pour into themselves. And right after that, we had a hike with the girls and it was just great. So being able to bring women into one space together is just great because I'm truly a girl's girl. A lot of people say that and they're actually mean girls underneath. And I hate that.
We don't do mean girls.
We don't do mean girls around here. So that's one. And then the Busy Creative is my baby. It is truly my baby.
And it's growing.
Yes, it is going to be a year old next month. And it's truly something that God laid on my heart and I can see his hands all over it. It started with the mixers, of course, which were great opportunities to bring creatives, entrepreneurs, small business owners, moms, people just genuinely looking for a community into one space. Yeah. And now God has laid it on my heart to build the Busy Creative Summit, which will be September 26th through 28th.
My girl got a whole weekend.
A whole weekend. Talk about doing it scared. But things are just falling into place as God said they would. He's orchestrating everything. So I'm genuinely excited to have been chosen as the vessel to bring this to life. So those two things are where I put my focus of community into the most. We'll have lots of events coming up for the girls this year. We're working on that. We're planning. And then of course the Busy Creative Summit is coming up. So yeah.
I love it. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So kind of talking about the girls.
Yeah.
Let's talk about identity. Being young, Black, and female in today's America. So what's been the most rewarding part of building a platform that represents and uplifts Black women? And not even just from the standpoint of for the girls, but just you as Bree.
I think you asked the most exciting part of that is that I get to do it just by being myself. I think that going back to that piece of where I tell my clients, like before you can put out pretty content, it has to be community focused and community centered. And it also has to give people an opportunity to trust you. Yeah. I think showing up as ourselves gives people an opportunity to trust us. Because it's literally like, oh my gosh, she's just like my homegirl. Like I can connect with her. I see myself in her. And I think that's important. I think there are way too many spaces in today's age where we can't be ourselves or where we don't see ourselves. And so being able to position my content, my brand, my businesses, all of the things as an opportunity for people to see themselves and for people to be themselves because I'm modeling that is exciting to me.
Your content and the communities that you create are literally like a love letter to Black women.
Oh,
completely.
Oh my God.
So yes to all of that. And I think also, I always say, when it comes to just being yourself and like being your full self, when you can be your full self and when you like live that out, it gives somebody else permission to do the same.
Absolutely.
And so I think, again, with you being a creator, with you being a leader, with you being an entrepreneur, you simply being yourself and pouring that out into the world, it gives everybody else around you, everybody that's in your sphere of influence, the permission to do the same, and the confidence to do the same. And it's hard.
It is.
It is hard right now to be ourselves because there's so much going on in the world that kind of contradicts the idea of us being ourselves, or we're being told that we can't be ourselves. We have to be something else.
Yeah.
And what we are is not good enough. And so it's always uplifting to just have people that have devoted their life to keeping us at the center of their service and their work and just giving out love, honestly.
Thank you, Braxton.
Of course, absolutely. So speaking of that, I want to talk about the future of just Black political and social influence. So what's one change that you would like to see in the political landscape that could better support Black entrepreneurs and creatives? Okay,
so the first thing that I would like to see, I would like y'all to impeach that orange man. Yeah, I think if we start there, then maybe we could see some benefits everywhere else. Okay. I'm being dead serious. That might be the only thing. Like, I think we did ourselves. First of all, hold on. Let me take the ownership off of because I didn't do that.
And Black women showed up 90%,
okay,
92%.
So we didn't do nothing. I think for those who decided to put him in office, I think they have to do the work because now they're noticing, he's really doing what he said he was going to. Did you think it was a joke? Like, this is who you voted for.
And that's how politics work.
Yeah.
You know, when you vote somebody into office, they can do anything that they said what they were going to run on. You have to believe that and take that very seriously. And I think that's where civic engagement and like education really comes into play, because you have to vote not only for yourself, but for others
and
as well.
And a lot of people vote strictly for themselves. I had a whole conversation with someone, a Black woman, who was giving me the reason why she voted for Donald Trump. And I thought it was insane. Like, I was literally in tears after talking to her, because one, you quite literally voted in a way that was only going to benefit you.
Right.
Not your Black daughters, not the Black people that you serve, just you. And what you even wanted out of that is not going to happen.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that's where we start. And then to this point, I think we have to go back to voting for community rather than simply voting for self.
I love that.
Yeah, because I think that in the last few elections, even though they've somewhat played out in our favor, well, not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think most people were voting for self. They're voting, especially white people, they're like, oh, Black people starting to get too much dip on their chip. We've always had the dip on our chip. And the reason that you're able to do the things that you can do is because of the blood that we shed.
Yes.
Because of the scars that were on our backs. And so I think we as a community have to get, allies included, have to get back to voting for community.
Yep.
And not just voting for self. And then showing up that way in everything that we do beyond the polls.
Yes, everywhere. Because it's those moments and what people do at the ballot box does not happen just before Election Day.
No.
Those are the things that we're doing now, the community that we're building now, the spaces and the capacity building that's happening now that's going to affect 4 years from now.
Absolutely.
So I 100% agree. And then what does building collective power look like to you? And how do you think Black creatives, entrepreneurs, and art organizers like myself, how can we work together to achieve that?
That's a beautiful question. I think collective power looks like being honest with each other about where we are, so that we know who needs help, what support we need to provide, so that we don't have to go out into the world and assume that politically somebody like a Donald Trump is going to be able to help us.
Right.
I think if we have the audacity enough to create spaces like this where we can talk on podcasts, honestly, because everybody don't deserve a mic. Let's be very clear about that.
This is true.
But I think not even like in a town hall sort of way, but if we can just come together and literally share what's going on in our networks, what's going on in our businesses, so that we can start bartering again, so that we can start supporting one another again. We can put our money where our mouth is, because we talk a lot of game on social media and things like that. We
gotta get on the same page.
Yeah, we literally have to get aligned again. So I think that's what collective power looks like. It looks like us realigning and refocusing so that we can make the main thing again. The main thing is us. Let's be very clear. Yeah.
Yes. And I think kind of just to piggyback on top of that, when I think about collective power, yes, like community is going to be the way that we do that. I think also looking at different players too, because I think traditionally some people even within the community have been left out, right? Like, did you go to school? Like, did you take this traditional route? Or are we even talking to creatives and getting their opinions about politics? But the reality is all of us play a part in politics.
Absolutely.
We need all of us.
Absolutely.
So we need all different perspectives. And I think sometimes we may only listen to a certain type of person. But I think we need to find a way to listen to everybody.
That's good.
Because we're seeing people voting in a lot of different ways. And I think a common misconception is that Black people are a monolith. And we are so different. But at the same time, we do nothing without community.
Absolutely.
Like, we thrive off of community. We need it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, when I think of collective power, I just think we got to come together and we got to hear from everybody.
Absolutely. I completely agree with that. Because I think even in like the content creation and influencer space, a lot of brands, like, this is obviously minute in comparison to all the things, but I think a lot of brands focus on the triple digit followers and things like that, when statistics show that the smaller followers or the smaller influencers who have a lower follower count their engagement is higher, which means that people are actually listening to them. People aren't just coming to see a pretty picture or a pretty video. They're actually listening to what these content creators have to say. And so to that point, we have to be willing to listen to people who don't have as big of a platform. We have to be willing to listen to people who traditionally are behind the scenes. We can, if they desire to stay behind the scenes, we can keep them there, but let's go have a conversation with them behind the curtain so that when we come back on this stage, we know what needs to happen.
Absolutely. Wholeheartedly agree. So we're getting to the end of our time, but I do have a signature question for you.
Okay.
So Black in Motion is all about staying in motion and making power moves for the culture. So what's one way that you keep it pushing and stay in motion, whether it's in your hustle, your community, or your everyday life?
One way that I keep it pushing is making sure that I go into that prayer closet every single day and I don't leave my house uncovered. That is, I think in seasons past, I've done the same thing and I've been in my prayer closet, I'm reading my word and things like that. But in the season that I'm in now, I'm recognizing that everything that my hands touch, while it may turn to gold, I have to make sure that I have what I need to steward that gold well. And the only way that I'm going to do that is by remaining consistent in that area. I don't want to be consistent on social media, consistent and putting on dope events and not in my prayer life. So I'm building relationship with God so that when I go out into the world and build relationship with everyone else, it's fruitful.
Yes. And that you are a reflection of him.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
I want people to see him before they see me.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Bree, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so happy that you were able to just join us and to share so much of your story and your light. Bree, can you tell the people where they can find you?
Of course. So which camera am I looking at? Okay. So you can find me on all platforms at The Busy Bree. That's Bree with an E, not an I. TheBusyBre. On TikTok, I am The Busy Bree _. Would love to have you a part of my community so we can do all the things together.
Yes. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you all for tuning in. And just stay tuned for the next episode of the Black in Motion podcast. We'll see you on episode 4.